Hello and welcome to the debate. I'm your host, Maqbool, with you at BTV World. In today's show, we're going to be taking a look at two stories. The first is a review of the first quarter of the year 2024 in light of the security situation and the increase in terrorist activities in the country. There has been a report that has also come out from the Center on Research of Strategic Studies, which takes a look at what has been going on within these 3 months, but particularly in terms of terrorist activities in KP and Balochistan, which they say have been the highest victims in this regard. And this is, of course, something that we've seen in the large scale of percentage of attacks that also goes in these two provinces. 86% of all such security-related activities and terrorist incidents have been centered in these two provinces, with the highest number of fatalities as well. And this is, of course, something that is very concerning. And we've seen that since the start of this year, that the people of KP and Balochistan and the security forces personnel in these two areas have suffered at the hands of terrorist incidents. There's also, of course, interesting evidence coming out in terms of the emergence of new terrorist groups within these provinces and elsewhere in Pakistan as well, that have claimed most of the terrorist attacks instead of the previous usual groups that have come forward. There is also concern with regards to what exactly needs to be done in terms of making sure that there is a decrease in terrorist activities, not just in these two provinces, but the entire country as well, and particularly in terms of the threat emanating from Afghanistan. There is also concern with regards to the increase in the number of terrorist incidents that have affected civilians as well, and the large number of civilian casualties that have resulted as a response. And this is, of course, something that Pakistan is taking a very close look at. Our security forces personnel have previously also thwarted terrorism in the country, but the way that we've seen the statistics come out in the first quarter of 2024 point towards a different direction in terms of what is being handled right now and what the threat is emerging, especially in terms of the new groups and from Afghanistan as well. So we'll take a closer look at what are the insights from this report and what we learn from this particular report, and how that can help in implementing better and new strategies in terms of counterterrorism activities. It's going to be our focus in the first segment of the show today. Our next one is going to take a look at the Iran gas pipeline project, something, of course, that Pakistan has been engaged with for many years now. A statement coming in from the US that points towards the fact that the US does not support this project, and that Pakistan will be exposing itself to US sanctions, has been responded by the defense minister as well, saying that if the US does not support the gas pipeline project, then they should also be providing an alternative. Of course, Pakistan is facing dire economic situation, and so this is an option for them to move forward in terms of reduced costs. And if this is something that is there and is not supported by the US, and what is the alternative for a country like Pakistan? There is also, of course, concerns that are being raised in terms of what exactly is going to be the way forward with the U.S. in terms of making sure that there is a balance in the relationship, and Pakistan is not exposed to any sanctions, because, of course, the economic conditions of Pakistan do not leave any room for such sanctions. And so there's also discussion on whether or not Pakistan will be pursuing forward with regards to a waiver in terms of sanction, which the foreign ministry is claiming the country does not need to, since this is something that is happening within the country and it does not require a waiver from a third party. But we'll discuss that in further detail in the second segment of the show today. For this and more, as always, in the studios, I've been joined by senior analyst Farrukh Pitafi and Raja Faisal. And for our first segment, we've also been joined by Mr. Mohammad Nafees, who's a senior analyst, and he's also the writer of the report that is going to be under discussion for our first segment. Thank you very much, Nafees, for joining us and being a part of the discussion. The Center for Research for Strategic Studies has, of course, come out with this report, and you've been the author of this report, and I want to understand what do you think are the main insights that we see from this particular report that can help provide some sort of guideline or direction in terms of how we are going to have a reevaluation or reanalysis of our strategies moving forward.
Are you asking me?
Yes, Nafeesa, this is for you.
Thank you for inviting me to this discussion. The ongoing situation is really quite alarming, and we have been witnessing that the violence has been constantly escalating in the country, and the strategies of the militants and insurgents have been taking new dimensions with every passing day. And I think the government has to take steps to counter those efforts of these outlaws in a way that can be effective enough. And most of the time, they have to be more proactive in dealing with this challenge. Most of the incidents that are taking place are a kind of repetitive repeat of what they did earlier, but we are often experiencing that in many cases the security forces could not uh, retaliate in a very timely manner, and they were able to take action. Even they attacked from multiple sides, and in some cases, they are coming in very high numbers, uh, coming up to the different security installations like PF training camps and Gwadar Port Authority complex, and they attacked from different sides, and they were quite big in numbers. And how could they manage to reach those security sites without getting tracked before they could manage to attack these installations? So these are the questions that needs for the security agencies to take into account and make more effective planning to address these attacks properly.
Right.
Right, Nafees Saab, you have mentioned in this report actually mentions emergence of a new movement called Jabhat al Mahdi al Khurasan. Is it somehow related to what we have known as Jabhat al Nusra?
I could not understand what you are referring to.
There is an organization that the report mentions has emerged in this area, and it is called Jabhat al Mahdi Khurasan. There used to be an organization of the similar sort in Syria, elsewhere. It was called Jabhat al Nusra. So, is there a possible link between the two?
They have, there are some reports. Recently, I have seen that uh, from in Afghan press, I have seen today that there was a claim that those groups are getting training inside Afghanistan that they denied. But there are certain things that still needs to be further researched and analyzed. How far these information is correct, we do not know right now. But a report has appeared today in an Afghan newspaper.
Yeah, Nafees Saab, obviously, when we talk about Afghanistan, especially about ISIS Khorasan, we remember that when Taliban took over Kabul. Right after that, there were reports, especially from Anadolu, which is considered as one of the premier news agencies of the world. They had reported that at that time that ISIS Khorasan is, of course, recruiting Afghan nationals, and their recruitment is taking place with the money in hand, and ranging from $280 per month to $400. In your research, I mean, do you find that claim to be relevant enough? And so, if so, then right now, what number we would be looking at in terms of ISIS Khorasan's actual number?
And by the way, since this report actually brings up the numbers of attacks within Pakistan, I was wondering whether there has been any query regarding the financial sources, which are relevant to Faisal's question as well. But you know, money trails of various organizations, how do they fund themselves?
Yeah, there are reports that there are about 6,000 ISS Khorasan people, and majority of them are are somewhere in Afghanistan. That's what they claim. But we had we have seen some reports that they were recruiting people from Balochistan as well. Even TTP has been trying to recruit people from Balochistan, and in some cases, some I found one case, a BLA insurgent was found at a place where the attack was basically claimed by Tehreek-e-Jihad Pakistan last year. But later on, when the security people were cleaning the area, they found one militant belonging to BLA. His dead body was found over there as well, though the claim was made by Tehreek-e-Jihad Pakistan. And Tehreek-e-Jihad Pakistan is considered to be an affiliate of TTP.
So, Nafees, this shows that, of course, they are hand in glove when it comes to, all of the terrorist organizations, be it BLA, BLF, TTP, IMU, ETIM, all of them, they are well linked to ISIS Khorasan. So, shouldn't we be considering this whole menace which is erupting from 3 of the provinces of Afghanistan, Nuristan, then Kunnad, and then Nangarhar? All of these provinces, they are becoming a hub of terrorism that can affect not only Pakistan and the neighboring countries of Afghanistan, but throughout the world as well.
And Nafees, we did not actually get the answer to the money problem, because that is one issue that keeps on coming up every time we look at all these activities, but none actually asked this question. Have you asked this question, and did you get any relevant answers how these organizations are funding themselves?
Right, and Nafees, counter to what Faisal has suggested, do you think that if we take a look at what sort of strategy needs to be implemented, do we need to club all of these organizations together under one umbrella, or is there any nuances involved which may need us to look at this differently in terms of each militant organization in each province?
I think if you have seen my report that appeared today, I have found something very surprising during this quarter. Last year, TTP and Tehreek-e-Jihad Pakistan, TJP, were very active in carrying out different attacks, and they were claiming for that. But this quarter, only 4 attacks were claimed by the TTP only. Though the number of militant attacks occurred as many as they were last quarter, but they did not make any claim. So they keep on changing their strategy, and they, I think, intentionally try to confuse the people, and you can say the world community and our security people as well, that they are coming up with new names all the time. They are allying different militant groups into their groups, and they are carrying out similar kinds of terror attacks. This time you might have noticed that the attacks carried out by the insurgent Balochistan Liberation Army, they have carried out many attacks at many important security installations, and they attacked with, in one case, they claimed that there were 385 insurgents involved along with 12 fidaeens. So
Right.
they were about, if we accept their claim, they were about 400 in number. And I just wonder how did they manage to get over to there with such a large number of fighters.
So basically you're saying it's the TTP under different names.
I different name, and the different groups are allying with them most probably, and they are all carrying out a task that is similar to all of them. Their objective is more or less the same.
Yeah, Nafees Saab, obviously if we talk about TTP's standing was more focused towards Pakistan, but do you not think that this kind of steps, I mean, joining the local groups and combining their efforts and dictating them what to do against Pakistan, this is more possible to be coming from the ISIS Khorasan, because that is more of a their stance is more of a globalized stance, because it actually affiliates itself with the main ISIS, and of course their ideology is linked with the ISIS. So that is why we can say that all of these smaller groups, they are working under the umbrella of ISIS Khorasan in the region
and independent of Taliban, Afghan Taliban, right? This is your question.
Yeah.
Okay. You're doing it
What
again.
about Al Qaeda? What about Al Qaeda?
That is why we asked about Jabhat al-Nusra as well.
Yeah.
But again, sir, money problem hasn't been answered.
Yes.
And I will keep on insisting that there should be an answer to that. Is it that our think tanks, our intellectuals, are they asking the right question? Who is funding these organizations? These operations essentially need money. Without money, nobody can operate. So have you asked this, or is somebody going to ask who is funding these organizations?
This is a very intriguing situation, and recently they have given an explanation that they are getting donations and making money on their own. And so we cannot get, but this is a very valid question. At one time, we know that there were many people who were supporting them from different places, from our country, from Middle East and other places. But now we were expecting that those supports were diminishing. But if they are diminishing, how come they are still in a position to carry out such attacks with such logistical support and easiness? This is a big question. How do they manage all these actions?
Yeah. Nafees Saab, is it highly possible that the modus operandi which was used by India in past to have their frontmen on the ground who are making sure that the money is delivered to of course all of these outfits, and money is actually pouring in from raw, but of course their frontmen sitting on ground in different countries, they are making sure that the money is provided?
No question about it as well, because everybody who is hostile to our country will certainly take the advantage of this situation. But the basic hostility that is taking place these days is between in Pakistan and Afghanistan on Durand Line issue.
And Nafees Saab, another question which is quite relevant, that in recent times, of course, we have seen that there were activities obviously related to CPAC. I mean, there is only one country that requires CPAC to be sabotaged in Pakistan, because of course CPAC is backbone of when it comes to Pakistan and China's brotherly relations. It is dear to both of the countries, and there is one country that is head-on against both of the countries, and that is India. Of course, if we talk about China, in South China Sea, they are challenging Chinese, and if we talk about Pakistan, I mean, since the day one, we were at a contention with them, and the bone of contention is Kashmir, and they want us to be engaged on the Western Front, and of course they are making sure that CPAC is not a success. So can we say that in recent times their focus is more towards CPAC because they want to hit directly on the friendship of Pakistan and China?
And by the way, because this question is also linked with what Faisal asked, and it goes beyond your own report, but it is important one, and it is regarding change of governments in Pakistan. The biggest question at this moment is, whenever government changes, we seem to forget that there was some research that was done during the previous government's time. I remember the National Security Advisor of PTI government actually coming up with a dossier detailing how India is essentially funding these outfits, and they actually mentioned one organization which was also probed by FinCEN, that is National Bank of Punjab of India. So they even produce receipts. Why is it that we forget those things and don't actually probe further?
But even if we find out that India is really involved, what is going to what is that going to help us? Our basic concern is to save our country, and for that purpose we have to organize and rather make our security system more effective. Yes, we have to counter.
Sorry to cut you, Nafees, are you saying that if we know who is delivering the money and the mode, we cannot stop it?
And also, Nafees, you've added in terms of really establishing whether India is involved or not. Have we not already done that?
And obviously, when we talk about India, India in recent times is being marked as a country that is actually, exporting terrorism. Of course, when we talk about whatever they've been doing against the Khalistan movement in the Western countries, that is why it is being highlighted. And we can make a point that this was going on since decades in Pakistan. And of course, they were exporting terrorism in Pakistan from India.
And they are under FATF's audit. Just remember that as well. So why not actually press this issue?
Are we going to recollect our memories? What were we expecting from bringing a change in Afghanistan by having Afghan Taliban in power over there? What was our expectation?
You talk about India and you actually add if with it. And when you talk about Afghan Taliban's installation, you essentially want us to believe that it was something that we did it. Why would you say that? We did not do it.
Even the Taliban, they claim that for 20 years, consecutive years, they've been fighting against Americans, and that's how they came back.
But we were expecting that once they come into power, then our situation will be far better, and we will have a strategic depth inside over there that will be supportive.
Sir, who was expecting it?
By we, you mean you, sir?
Sir, you were expecting it?
I am not saying that who am I? I have no power to expect. I am just saying the overall expectation by the government and the security analysts. It was an expectation that by a change we will have a friendly government over there.
Sir, as long as the governments are concerned, none of the governments actually ever stated such thing related to Taliban.
It is based on conjecture, sir.
Whatever it is, but we have to look at it as well. Plus, I think we may know that they are getting funding from different humanitarian aid from Western countries as well.
Right.
And
who's getting it, sir?
There are questions from donor countries that those supports are not being those supports are being misused as well by the Afghan Taliban. So I don't know if they are utilizing it for some other purposes.
Right, absolutely. Thank you very much, Nafees, for joining us and taking the time out to be part of the debate. And Faisal, before we move on to our next segment as well, there's also discussion with reference to what we were, of course, talking to Nafees in terms of what the defense minister has also stated, and after his visit to Afghanistan, and has said that this is, of course, something that requires the assurance from the Afghan Taliban side. But it seems that they're not in that area or in that mindset, or their attitude isn't correct. And I want your understanding on the statement as to what exactly does that mean.
Yes, and now obviously when we talk about whatever is going on in Pakistan in terms of terrorism, majority of the times, of course, if we talk about the north of Pakistan, all of the activities which are being carried out, they are related to TTP, Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, and we shouldn't be forgetting few facts that while Taliban were busy having a war against America in Afghanistan. During that time, TTP and TTA both were, hand and glove, and they were supporting each other. During that time, of course, their, attacks were focused on Americans in Afghanistan, on the Afghan soil.
So was ISIS, by the way.
So was no. At
ISIS,
that time,
they were attacking. They killed Americans.
They were against Americans, but at the same time, they did not align themselves with the TTA.
They did not, but they had common ground somewhere.
Yeah, they had common ground, but when it comes to Nangarhar, even back in 2018 January, Afghan Taliban, they actually conducted activities against ISIS Khorasan there. There was one of the incident in which they actually, cut their throats and hung their skulls out there as well to deter them.
Do you know that happened in fights between Taliban's own factions also?
Exactly.
So
that's what I was about to say, that it actually happened within Taliban, Afghan Taliban as well. So they have the history of doing so. Sana's question is, Sana, that's a very important question, that why still, there are not any steps taken by TTA against TTP, and of course, whenever Pakistan requires Afghanistan to do something against TTP, it is not done.
Not just why, Faisal. I want to understand what exactly do they want. Like what is the preferred mode that the Afghan Taliban is looking for? Not just refusing to do one thing that Pakistan is expecting, but what do they want to do? Support them?
By the looks of it, they only want, of course, Pakistan to have no activities against TTP, which is, of course, not going to happen, because Pakistan is going to ensure that all of the Pakistan lands, they are safeguarded against all of these terrorists. To them, TTP is that sort of terrorist, because they believe that they have been, of course, joining hands with them against the Americans, and their ideology is quite similar to TTA. So they believe that they are a sort of faction of them who've been helping them out during the war against America. So they don't want any activities against them. But of course, when it comes to Pakistan, believes that all of these TTP, few of the factions, they might be different, who might align themselves with TTA, and they are not doing any activities against Pakistan. But majority of the TTP, TTP outfits, they are all against Pakistan, and this is the fact which, of course, Afghanistan's TTA regime, they must understand, and they do something about it. And especially, I think there is another fact which needs to be reiterated to Afghan Taliban, and that is related to how I was earlier, mentioning with the Nafees Saab as well. And my question to him was all about this, that as we know that ISIS Khorasan is catering few of the TTP outfits within 3 provinces, which we keep on highlighting about, and same goes out for for BLA and BLF as well, in ETIM, then IMU, all of these, they get catered by ISIS Khorasan, and they have good relations. So few of the TTP outfits, they might be having good relations with the TTA, but at the same time, they are aligned with the ISIS Khorasan. Okay. So these are the facts which needs to be reiterated to TTA, and need to be told to them that this is the menace which is, of course, brewing up in your provinces and affecting Pakistan, and Pakistan will be, of course, safeguarding itself against the terrorism which is originating from within Afghanistan.
Right, and I want to understand, Farrukh, that this is something that we've been talking about for quite some time. Now, of course, Pakistan has been reiterating this many times as well, and it still does in terms of what the Afghan Taliban should be doing or needs to do. But do we still have any window where we have this expectation from the Afghan Taliban and it's going to be fulfilled, or is that something that's long gone and we need to think differently now?
Right. Through carrot and stick, you can always find some kind of solution.
Yeah.
And you keep on doing that. But the problem is that, again, when I said to Faisal that you are doing it again, this nuance, I'm not the one who actually tries to sweep every nuance under the carpet. But the fact is that all these groups that are there in Afghanistan and which are actually thriving in the name of religion, they have one common enemy, and that enemy is Pakistan. And why is it? Because they think that Pakistan cooperated with America, and by extension, Pakistan is also extension of an order that is, fighting them. So, if you want to understand the whole problem fully, you have to appreciate how in olden days people who were in the brig of ships were treated. Whenever some pirate would attack a ship, they would free the inmates or the people who were actually arrested, and they would actually fight side by side. And once the enemy was gone, defeated, vanquished, after that they would reapprehend the people who were fighting, who were actually earlier in the brig. So this is the state of affairs right now. Afghan Taliban also don't think much of you. They do have differences within the organization, but people that we kept on thinking are favorable to Pakistan, they are going out of the way to recruit people that were thought to be in favor of Pakistan against Pakistan, right? For example, Haqqani network actually played a pivotal role, again I'm borrowing language of Faisal, to actually induct Hafiz Gul Bahadur group against Pakistan, and they have also started attacking. So whether you like it or not, the Afghan Taliban and everyone, including ISKP, Islamic State, Khorasan province, they all actually, they might fight among themselves, but they believe that apart from the enemy in exile, that is the US, they have to fight enemy in the residence, that is Pakistan. And they harbor, territorial ambitions against Pakistan's territory. And that actually goes to the TTA also. Why do you think they never want to accept Durand Line? Because they claim that half of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa up to Jhelum is theirs. With that kind of attitude, if we keep on cutting them slack, then we can keep on building this case that ISKP is the actual organization that is meant to attack the whole world, and they are attacking Pakistan, and TTA are our poor helpless brothers who don't know what to do, and they don't have good options. But essentially they are the same people. Do you know how ISKP was built? ISKP essentially was an offshoot of TTP. The people who actually started disagreeing with TTA's own edicts, they actually revolted and formed ISKP. And those people actually essentially, what is TTP? TTP is essentially an extension of TTA. People who were arrested in the accusation that they were facilitating TTA immediately after 9/11, and they were actually taken to Gitmo. Those, when they got free, they formed TTP. So they are more or less the same thing. We can keep on reinventing the wheel, but the fact is that Al-Qaeda, ISKP, TTA, TTP want the same thing, and that is our death. That is ambition over our territory, some kind of caliphate over this land also. So if we want to actually cut them slack, please do, but not at my cost.
Absolutely, and of course this is something that also falls under the zero tolerance policy that we have of course followed and claim to follow with reference to terrorism, and this is something that has to be taken in this regard as well. We're now going to take a look at the with regards to the Iran gas line project, the way that the dynamics have evolved, and how exactly will Pakistan and the US relationship also get affected, and what sort of options are available for Pakistan to pursue this, given of course its economic needs and also its very important relationship with the US. And Faisal, I'll start with you with what the US has said. It's not the first time that we've been hearing these comments coming from the US, and they've said it very clearly that they don't support the project and that Pakistan will be exposing themselves to US sanctions. And of course this is not something that Pakistan wants, but in terms of what options we have, and in terms of our economic conditions, and in terms of the project in itself, what exactly do you think should be the way forward for Pakistan. The defense minister stated that the US should provide an alternative, but of course he's making a statement in terms of emphasizing Pakistan's needs. What is the way forward?
Yeah, obviously, Sana, if we talk about our defense minister's statement, I think it was a very good statement, and this is how it should be. Other day, remember when we were talking on the same topic with the Michael Kugelman as well, and I did highlight that point related to, of course, Pak-Iran gas pipeline to him as well, and he said this is, of course, very important, and there will be a stance taken by US on this against Pakistan. But of course, how defense minister has already highlighted, if they can give us another alternate to it, because knowing the facts on ground, Pakistan is a country that is struggling in terms of its energy needs, and Iran being the immediate country that is, of course, ready to transfer gas to Pakistan, and gas pipeline. This gas pipeline is pending since a long time, and if we have that opportunity there, barring an ally country, a country that has been ally throughout the wars of US in the region, I mean, it is so unfortunate that it would be coming from US if it does so. Right now, of course, we know that Pakistan is going ahead with it, because the penalty of not doing so is so enormous that if America is ready to pay for that penalty, then fair enough, and give us another alternate.
Is the penalty more costly than US sanctions?
Of course, both of them are dear to us. I mean, $1 million per day, $1 million per day, a country like Pakistan that is already struggling in terms of its economy. Of course, America should be considerate enough and should understand this. And at the same time, Sana, if we talk about other allies in the region of America, the way America treats them, it's fascinating. When it comes to buying oil from Iran, India is still buying 425,000 barrels a day crude oil. Still, India is buying from Iran, and nothing is said by America on that. When it comes to S-400, of course, we know that India and Turkey both were the countries that actually bought S-400 from Russia, and Turkey did get sanctioned, but when it comes to India, India did not get any sanctions from the American side. So this is quite fascinating when it comes to cherry picking your allies and who to pressurize and who not to pressurize. So this must be understood by America itself, that on ground, of course, Pakistan has its own needs related to energy, and Pakistan, of course, believes that the immediate country, brotherly Iran, of course, they have the gas and they are willing to transfer it to Pakistan, and why not Pakistan should be going for it. But I think here I would say that Pakistan would be going ahead with it, and when it comes to the time of sanctions, of course, at that time Pakistan will be having another sort of plan to how to counter them sanctions. I believe Pakistan will overcome eventually.
All right, and Farrukh, Faisal has pointed out a lot of things that the US should be doing and needs to be considerate of and mindful of, and I'm not sure if it works that way, and I want to understand how exactly will we be able to balance this relationship, and given the fact that, of course, when we talk about what is needed by Pakistan, is that really something that a country like the US will be able to consider, given Iran is in the picture and in the equation, something that the US has had a very clear and hard stance on?
All right, Sana, thank you very much for the question. I think that I don't want to say that all these worries actually stem from PTI's activities, but unfortunately I have to say that. For example, the origin of this pipeline being restored or built, that actually goes back to the days you remember. You were also, and Faisal were also in the show when we were discussing whether to import oil from Russia at the peak hour of Ukraine war. And at that time, this idea came up that we might actually be able to, because Russia is in the eye of storm, not Iran. So why not actually resume building of this pipeline and import energy from there? Then of course a Russian president went and bought drones from Iran, which were also used in Ukraine. So that complicated the situation. But recently, why do you think that this issue has come up? Do you know why? There was a hearing in which Donald Lu was summoned, and he had to actually brief the US House of Representatives on Pakistan's elections. And that was actually essentially earmarked as a victory of PTI's activism, right? In that hearing, and anybody would have told you that when you start a hearing on a country, all sorts of things come up. On one side, of course, everybody kept on talking about the elections and how fundamental human rights are important, and there were claps and jeers and cheers as well. But on the other side, then two of the lawmakers actually, went to Iran-Pakistan relationship. And they said, Donald Lu actually pointed out that both the countries essentially exchange missile strikes and drone strikes. So they are not that, things are not hunky-dory. But it was essentially pinpointed by the lawmakers that Pakistan going to Iran to import gas is a big no-no, and Donald Lu actually accepted. So it is one of the own goals by PTI, because they should have known that this matter would actually go in this direction. What it does for the current government is essentially what our defense minister has said, that if you are going to stop us, then give us something better. And let me tell you what does it entail. It entails 2 or 3 things. Faisal mentioned India's import of oil or gas from Russia. Sorry, not Russia, from Iran.
Actually,
and
it has been, they imported from Russia as well.
I know, and that is a long story, very different story. But let me first focus on how they are dealing with Iran. There is a sanction on Iran getting any money. So how does India actually essentially buy the oil? They do it through an escrow account. That was, last I checked, to the tune of $8 to $10 billion. That means, I hope everyone knows what escrow account is. You actually submit money into a bank account, which is to be actually cashed in at a later stage. But for now, what you are doing is, money is here, bank guarantee is there, and we are importing the things against the guarantee. So escrow account, okay. India and Turkey, both.
And that's not an option for Pakistan?
No, it is not, because Pakistan hasn't actually asserted itself. Donald Lu actually essentially pointed out that Pakistan has not even sought the waiver on this matter, right? And it is something that happened between India actually importing from Iran, and then Pakistan actually essentially agreeing on building this pipeline. Between the two, there was this imposition or grandfather clock that actually came into effect. So Pakistan essentially will have to seek the waiver if they want to not be treated on the parlance of Iran as a pariah.
But the Foreign Office maintains that it doesn't need
to. Foreign Office is welcome to have an opinion, and that is essentially an informed opinion, but that doesn't mean that they, and Foreign Office is technically right, that this is Pakistan's land and Pakistan can build anything on its border. But then there is the chance of those sanctions kicking in. So Pakistan will have to navigate the issue very carefully. But if America has to compensate for what is going on, then it will have to ensure that Pakistan is not sued by Iran on an international forum regarding this pipeline. Remember, there are 3 things at stake. On one side, you need energy sources, and that means more than what you are helping us with coal, gasification of coal and all. Secondly, money is to actually pay for the bills as well. And the third one is also important, that if we are to avoid this sanction, the other litigation you'll have to help us get rid of. And how do you do that? That is your headache, not ours. So
Alright.
this is my humble submission. But when it comes to India and when it comes to Turkey, they have told you what to do in such situations. Assert your importance. Because they actually keep on, reminding America how important they are. They get the waivers. Why do you not automatically do it? Because your diaspora is busy in doing something else, framing your own government.
Right.
When you do that, who are you helping?
Right, absolutely. Thank you, Farrukh. Thank you, Faisal, for joining us and being a part of the discussion. That's all that we have from the show today. We'll now see you tomorrow.